So what's the problem? The problem is broadcasting is stuck in transition. What do I mean by stuck in transition? These curves are what you'd normally know as growth curves. And if you just look at that blue curve, is that working? If you just look at that blue curve, take a new product. Say the blue curve was black and white televisions. They start off, it's very low, there are very few of them, they're quite expensive. But as people hear about them, as that satisfies a consumer need, more people buy them, they become cheaper to produce, so more people buy them, so they become cheaper to produce. Everybody has one, and gradually that curve will slow down because as everybody has one, the market for more goes down. So most products, as they confine their audience, start slow, build, and then that growth slows. At the top of the curve, some products just carry on flat. Some, like black and white television, probably that curve has just collapsed because there's no need for it anymore. And others, they find a new curve. So if that blue curve was black and white televisions, that red curve could be color televisions. So black and white television started, it took off, it grew rather quickly. At a certain point, somebody came out with color television. Now, initially, it was quite expensive. There were very few sets. But as the technology got cheaper and better, and as it became more affordable, more people started buying color televisions, they stopped buying black and white televisions. All right, so these curves can describe a product. Apple do this all the time. Yeah, that blue curve is the early iPhone, and then Apple changed the adapter, so everybody has to move to the red curve because that's the new product. Amazon did this. Amazon, their blue curve was their book business, and then that red curve was their Kindle business, and they have another curve now, which is their video business. So those curves can describe a product or a business, but they can also describe an era. That blue curve is the analog era, the era of broadcasting, and that red curve is the digital era. And the challenge that we face is that the public broadcasters are right at the top of that blue curve. There isn't much more growth. Most people have got television sets. Most people who are paying the license are paying it already. There isn't much more money in the system. That's why within the public broadcasters, you're seeing an emphasis on cost reduction. If they take advertising, you're seeing a squeeze on margins, because there isn't much more growth in the market. And by the time an organization has grown to be sort of big and mature, how do you think it acts? Do you think it takes decisions quickly or slowly? Slowly. Do you think it's got a high appetite for risk or a low appetite for risk? It's got a low appetite for risk. It's the market leader. Do you think it's got a fast-moving entrepreneurial culture? Or has it got lots of big divisions like HR and finance and operations? It's heavily matrixed with these big clunky divisions. Meanwhile, on the red curve, that's where all the fun stuff's happening. Do you think they've got big divisions? Or is it just Steve and two mates and they just got a great idea? Right? It's very entrepreneurial. It moves very quickly. Yeah, what's their appetite to risk? Failure's quite good because we learn so much from failing that we get the chance to try something else. And our problem is that we're trying to operate in both spaces at the same time. Our traditional business is right at the top of that blue curve. And yet these new things that we need to try need the mentality of a business well down the red curve. And the tension within an organization of making that happen often means, just like folding your arms the other way, it doesn't happen. Where do you think the money for any activity on the blue curve comes from? Where do you think any money for any activity on the red curve comes from? Comes from the blue curve. I've sat in meetings in my career at the BBC and said, why are we spending money on this internet thing? It won't take off. No one's going to use it. You know, do people pay a television license or a television fee, or do they pay an internet fee? They pay a television fee. What do most politicians watch? Things on the blue curve or things on the red curve? Things on the blue curve. Where do most of the older people, the ones who tend to vote in largest numbers, where are they most comfortable, on the blue curve or the red curve? On the blue curve. Do you have a future if you don't get to the red curve? No, you don't. So you have to find a way. We have to find ways of getting our broadcasters from those blue curves to those red curves. Doesn't have to be everything that we do, but we have to start now finding the ways of creating the new forms of content that mean we have a future. Because those companies who aren't encumbered with our past, Netflix don't have to worry about a broadcasting environment, they're already on the red curve. Amazon are on the red curve. Google are on the red curve. All of our competitors, our new competitors, are already on the red curve. One of the problems we have is that people on the blue curve can't see what their role is on the red curve. You know, I'm an executive producer of television production. What will my title be on the red curve? Yeah, I don't really understand this new technology. Will I be answering to an 18-year-old if I go and commit to the red curve? These are real and genuine fears that people have about making the switch. And I think some people think the blue curve will last as long as my lifetime, or certainly my career time, so I'll just stay where I am. I'm 50. I could have done 10 more years on the blue curve. There's at least 10 years in the blue curve. But the fun stuff is on the red curve. The really good fun stuff is on the red curve.